The revival. According to Joseph's story, a revival affected all the churches in the area. Remember, it was every church in the area was affected by this revival. Even some of his family members joined the Presbyterian church at that time. And Joseph was confused, and he brought this to God in prayer, supposedly. This great religious awakening that was taking place. Did it happen? Here's something Joseph Smith didn't account on. The quest for the revival. Church records, newspapers, periodicals, clergy records, and published interviews show that there was no revival in 1820 to 1821 in that area. There was no revival. In other words, what I mean by that is, our church here, Pastor Matt has I guess an accounting of who pays the tithes or their offerings, or how many people are in the church, who gets baptized. These are official records. You see? In fact, back then, and even when I was a young man, I think your baptismal certificate was a legal document. Very important document, more so than it is today. But it was a legal document. See? You would show that. You don't have no social security number or don't know who you are. That birth certificate was very important. Joseph Smith never counted on these things being in the public records in the various different counties. Those records show through the church reports and newspapers, there was no revival. He spoke of it as being a great revival in his later writings. This is what moved him to pray. This is why God told him they're all corrupt. For example, the First Baptist Church in Palmyra in 1820, the First Baptist Church only received 8 people through confessions of faith and baptism. That's a documented record and account, 8 people. The Presbyterian Church added 14 members, and the Methodist Circuit lost 6 members. And from 1820 to 1821. It's not a great revival. Now, get this. But in 1824, this is where Joseph Smith got it from. In 1824 through 1825, the Baptist Church recorded 94 admitted on profession of faith and baptism. The Presbyterian Church reported 99 new members. And the Methodist Church showed an increase of 208 members because of a big revival that was going on in 1824 to 1825. But guess what? That don't fit Joseph Smith's account. He took what happened in 1824 through 1825 and said it happened when? 1820. It never happened in that area in 1820. So again, there's a big problem there for this first vision. Microfilm records of road repairs from 1822 shows that they didn't live there in 1820 where he said this thing took place. He didn't live there. So, but when he was 16, he was there. After 1822, he was there. But before 1822, he wasn't there. Property assessments records shows that the cabin that Joseph Smith lived in was built in 1822 through 1823. The cabin. Where he had this vision and where Moroni came and all this here. See, these are official records that he never, a 14-year-old boy never thought of that somebody would look at. And his mother's own mommy, don't even back him up. She did not mention anything about, in her writings, her own autobiography, anything about that first vision. There's no mention of the first vision in her autobiography that she wrote in 1845. So Joseph Smith probably was between 16 and 17 years old when he started putting all this stuff together. Oliver Cromley, who is one of the apostles and one of the early witnesses to all these things, and you'll find his name in the front of your Book of Mormons. His name is in every Book of Mormons. as one of the three witnesses, Oliver Cromberry, right there, he also did not mention this first vision. Now, he was with Joseph Smith, but what Cromberry writes about is the fact that when Moroni came to Joseph Smith, supposedly in 1823, he talks about that vision as being the first vision. Because Joseph Smith ain't put his lie together yet. When Oliver wrote his stuff down, his little disclosures and diaries, Joseph Smith didn't put it all together yet. So Oliver Cromberry said that he was giving reference to the visit that he's supposed to have with Moroni in 1823. So there's a lot of problems with that, see? People don't realize that the things that Joseph Smith said was not true, and the evidence is that the records that we have from that time period from various different legal and governmental agencies. It just didn't happen. Of course, the Mormons don't care. They're going to say what they want to say anyway because they want to keep their history rolling on. The second vision that Joseph Smith had was in 1823. Now, before 1840, everyone who was a Mormon believed that the first vision was actually this vision, with Moroni coming to him and giving him the gold, telling him where the golden plates were and so forth. They thought it was this vision. They always spoke of this vision, not what Joseph Smith put together later on in his publishing of his Book of Mormons. Nobody never mentioned that until after he started putting that all together and changed everything that was first said. But Moroni was supposed to appear unto Joseph. You ever look on the top of these Mormon temples, you see the angel with the horn blowing? That's Moroni. He is a resurrected person who lived thousands of years ago. He was supposedly a resurrected messenger of God. He was a Nephite who helped edit the ancient record of the Book of Mormons. His father wrote it, and he helped his father along. His father was named Moroni, was named Mormon, and he helped his father in writing this ancient record before they died. But from 1823 to 1829, he appeared 20 times to Joseph Smith, supposedly, this angel, teaching about the gathering of Israel, the visit of Elijah, the coming of Christ, and the judgments that were to come. When Joseph supposedly this angel came into his room and talked to Joseph, he was told where to find these golden plates, and also how to use the Urim and Thummim, these two stones, to interpret the Book of Mormons, the golden plates, how to interpret those golden plates. Of course, they could not be removed for 4 years, but in 1829, Joseph Smith got the plates that you see on the front of your magazine there. He went and got the plates 4 years later in 1829. He finished this 529-page book in 3 months. 3 months he finished this book. And that's amazing in itself. So we know that the demons were just jumping left and right, like hotcakes, inspiring this man to write the things that he had wrote. But Joseph Smith and his father, as I stated earlier, were gold diggers. I mean, money diggers, they call them. Money diggers. And they would use seer stones. So he was already prepared for this. His father did the same thing. That was their trade. They used seer stones to tell people where treasure was buried at. And what type of demons or angels were guarding these various different treasures, And he always would be looking for Captain Kidd's treasure and all this type of thing, This is what they did, him and his father. And they would take these seer stones and put them into his hat and make it completely dark, and would see the visions of where these treasures were at and what type of demons were guarding him, and how the people were to go and dig them up and so forth. Now, this is a true statement. A lot of some Mormons don't want to talk about that. Again, there is court records, because he was taken to court and sued because he had a pair of seer stones that he borrowed from someone and did not want to return them. I can't remember the man's name off the top of my head, and didn't want to return those stones. And this guy took him to court to try to get the stones back, but his brother took the stones and ran off, ran off with him, and Joseph said he'd never seen him and lied and so forth and so on in court. So there are court records that he and his family did involve themselves as being money diggers. That's an established fact, though Mormons don't want to profess to that. Moroni is the resurrected dead Indian warrior that came to Joseph Smith and told him about these golden plates. Remember we read in Galatians, though an angel, if anybody else or an angel come around preach any other gospel, bid them to be a curse. Well, here's this man allowing a resurrected Indian angel, or whatever he must have been, to tell him where these golden plates were and where these stones were to interpret this portion of Scripture. Joseph Smith used seer stones, as I stated earlier, seer stones. He already had the seer stones. Every picture you see, this is from their magazine, The Instant. This is their magazine here, cover. Every picture you see of Joseph Smith, you're going to see him like this. Very studious. Now, this is when he's interpreting the golden plates. There's a controversy on the golden plates, how he described them. They couldn't be the way he said they were. But anyway, this is the picture that you see of Joseph Smith. The problem that you have is that his witnesses, the 3 witnesses plus I think the other 7 witnesses, you see them in the front of the Book of Mormons, they testified that Joseph Smith, when he was interpreting, put the 2 stones in a hat. Put his face in the hat, just like he done with the treasures. And each character would come up and appear in the hat. And he would read off the interpretation to his scribes, which was Oliver Cromberry and 7 or 8 other people. And they would copy down what he would say, and then these letters or characters would disappear if they had it right. They would disappear in the hat. Then he would read another one would appear. And then this is how he interpreted, and all this stuff he got for the Book of Mormons came out of his hat. No one testified that Joseph Smith was using golden plates. They said they seen golden plates, but he never used the golden plates, as you see here. He put his head in a hat and interpreted, or supposedly translated the Book of Mormons. The Book of Mormons has over 4,000 changes in it. 65,000 in the altogether with the other books, the Doctrine and Covenants and the Pearl of Grace of Christ. And I don't mean no and duh and we. We're talking about big changes. 65,000 changes. But this is God's word. This came straight from God through the power of God. But yet God got changed his mind 65,000 times. A lot of Mormons don't know that. 65,000 times, or changes that you have in the Book of Mormons. From the original, the 1830. I'm trying to find one. I couldn't find one. The 1830 version of the Book of Mormons. In this one I have my hand here. There are 65,000 changes in between the two versions, and not, like I say, not little punctuation and commas and so forth. 65,000. But yet God interpreted, through his power to Joseph Smith. The Book of Mormons, and having all those changes in it, cannot be reliable. As we're going to see some things that are said in this section of the Book of Mormons. It cannot be reliable. But they claim that it is reliable. This is the most complete and perfect book that Joseph Smith, putting his head in a hat, wrote down for us. The 1930 Book of Mormon says in the introduction, let's see here. It said in the 1930 version, it said the Book of Mormon's written by Joseph Smith. These versions here that you have today says translated by Joseph Smith. They changed, that's one of the changes that, they made. But it was the first, in 1830 said written by Joseph Smith.